Hello and welcome to Lantern Lane Stories. Tonight's story is Young Andersen and His Paper Dancers. Welcome back to Lantern Lane Stories. Snuggle in deep tonight, we are flying far across the sea to a small Danish town called Odense. Odense has cobbled streets and red tile roofs. The air smells of bread and salt. In the year 1805, a baby boy was born here. His name was Hans Christian Andersen. By the time our story begins, Hans was 13 years old. He had soft brown hair and very long legs. His shoes were patched and quiet. His father was a shoemaker. Their home was one small room, a workbench, a narrow bed, a square window, that was all. But Hans had something no one could see. He had a head full of stories. One spring evening, the church bells chimed 7. Hans walked down a narrow lane. The stones were warm under his feet. He stopped near the town theater. Music floated through an open window. Violins, a flute, a soft drum like a heartbeat. He pressed his cheek against the cool brick. It smelled of moss and old rain. Inside, a fine lady was singing about the moon. Her voice climbed and climbed. Hans closed his eyes. He could almost see the painted stage. A boy with a top hat passed by. He carried a paper ticket in his hand. "Are you going inside?" Hans asked softly. "Of course," the boy said. "My father bought the seats." Hans felt his pockets. 2 small buttons, a bit of string, no coins at all. He smiled anyway. "Listen well for me," he whispered. The boy nodded and slipped through the heavy door. Hans stayed by the window until the last note faded. His toes felt chilly, but his heart felt warm. The walk home took only 10 minutes. The lamps were yellow puddles in the dusk. Hans turned a corner and stopped. A torn poster fluttered on a wooden post. It showed dancers in long ribbons. Their painted shoes were bright red. He touched the rough paper gently. Then he had an idea. He ran the rest of the way home, breathless. Inside, the workshop smelled of leather and beeswax. His father looked up from a boot. "You are puffing like a bellows," Father said. Hans laughed. "I want to build my own theater," he said. Father wiped his hands on a brown apron. "Tell me how." "Paper," Hans said, "and scissors, and a stage made from a wooden box." Father smiled in the candlelight. He pulled a small box from under the bench. "It is empty now, take it." Hans hugged the box like a treasure. The next morning was bright and cool. Hans set off down the lane. He carried a tin cup and a polite plan. At Mrs. Holmes' window, he tapped softly. She was a seamstress with kind gray eyes. "Mrs. Holmes, do you have any scraps of cloth?" he asked. "Scraps." She tilted her head. "For what, dear?" "For dancers, tiny ones made of paper." She laughed and dug in a willow basket. Out came velvet lace and a strip of blue silk. The silk shone like a slow river in morning sun. At the baker's, Hans got 2 snippets of red ribbon. They smelled faintly of sugar. At the carpenter's, he got 4 wooden clothespins. They were pale and clean. By noon, his tin cup was full of treasures. His cheeks were pink from running. Back home, he spread everything on the workbench. He took thin white paper and folded it twice. Snip, snip went the small scissors. A little dancer fell out with a wide skirt and outstretched arms. He cut a tiny prince with a paper crown. He cut a swan with a curving neck. He cut a girl in red shoes. He cut a queen with a wide collar. Each one he glued to a clothespin. Now they could stand and bow. He dressed each figure with a tiny scrap of cloth. Velvet for the queen, blue silk for the dancer. By dusk, 6 paper friends waited on the workbench. The candle flame made them tremble like real performers waiting for a curtain. On Saturday, Hans turned the box on its side. He cut an arch in the front like a real stage. He hung a curtain made from his old handkerchief. It was patched but soft. He pinned a painted sky inside, blue with 3 white clouds. He invited 4 neighbor children, Anna, Peter, Ida, and little Niels. They sat on the floor in a careful row. The room smelled of warm bread and beeswax. "Welcome to the Odense Paper Theater," Hans whispered. Anna giggled. "Can paper really dance?" she asked. "Watch and listen," Hans said. He pulled the handkerchief aside. The candle wick crackled. From behind the box, Hans moved the queen on her clothespin. Her collar caught a wedge of yellow light. "I have lost my golden ring," Hans said in a high, trembling voice. The children leaned forward. Ida held her breath. Then came the swan, gliding on a thread. "I will help you find it," Hans said, soft and fluty. The silk on the dancer rustled like a tiny brook. The The red shoes spun in small circles. Niels clapped both hands over his mouth. His eyes were round as plums. For half an hour, Hans played every voice. King and dancer, swan and prince. His throat grew dry, but he did not stop. Outside, the church bell tapped 8 times. The candle was now half its size. At the end, the queen found her ring tucked inside the swan's feathers. The children burst into applause. Anna threw a kiss at the curtain. "Bravo, bravo," Peter shouted. Hans peeked out from behind the box. His hair was rumpled and his cheeks shone. "Will you do it again next week?" Ida asked. "Yes," Hans promised. "And the week after." That little box and that thin handkerchief, they were only the beginning. Hans grew up. He left Odense with a small bundle and a head full of dreams. He became a writer, a teller of fairy tales. He wrote about a little mermaid who loved a prince far away. He wrote about an ugly duckling who slowly became a graceful swan. He wrote about a tiny girl named Thumbelina who slept inside a walnut shell. His tales now live in more than 100 languages. Children read them in every corner of the world. And those paper figures he cut as a boy, he never stopped cutting them. Even when he was old and famous, he sat at quiet parties with scissors and a single sheet of paper. Out came castles, ballerinas, and tall, thin trees. Today, in a calm museum in Odense, more than 1,500 of his paper cuttings rest under glass. Each one whispers a small story. So if you ever feel that you have nothing, no coins, no big toys, no fancy stage, remember Hans? He had a candle, a wooden box, and a pair of small scissors. With those, he made a theater big enough for a whole town's dreams. The cobbled streets of Odense are quiet now. The bakers have closed their shutters. The lamps glow soft and orange. A gentle wind rocks the wooden signs. And so, Odense also slowly, slowly fell asleep. Good night.